We have a winner. The first overall pick in the 2015 NHL draft belongs to the Edmonton Oilers.
That was the scene over the weekend. The Edmonton Oilers have the first overall pick in one of the most highly anticipated drafts ever. Joining us is the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, Andrew Ference, and an NHL Live veteran, friend of the show, stopping by again. It's great to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you. Just hanging around. You can't get rid of me.
I love it, though. It's always good to see you. There's so much to talk about here, and we got to start off with that. So how closely were you watching the draft lottery there?
I had it on. I was telling the kids to be quiet.
Pretty dramatic, huh?
It was great. I mean, our whole city was excited. Obviously, for given the odds of us being pulled, it was exciting and surprising, and we'll take it. It's great.
You guys got to be looking forward to it. I mean, McDavid's been talked about, and former Oiler Wayne Gretzky says, best prospect he's seen in 30 years. What do you think? You guys excited to get him?
It's nice kudos to get from Wayne. The people that have seen him live, I mean, that's the same story you get all the time. It's just how quick he plays, how fast he does everything. He's got the skill, but he just does it at such a high speed. So, I mean, how can you not be excited? I mean, what a
ice for it, too. Edmonton always has good ice. So.
Yeah. No, he'll be great. I mean, in saying that, that's as a fan, because I'm a fan of my own team. I want Edmonton to do well. Being from there and growing up in that environment and seeing cups being won, it's an amazing hockey city. So that's my perspective from there. As a player, obviously, I know there's more to be done. We have to keep pucks out of our net. We have to, play better defensively. And obviously, he's an amazing piece to add to our team. But we can't all just sit back and watch. We all have to, pull up our boots as well and play better.
Now, there is a lot to it when winning hockey games, but what a collection of young talent up front this is now. Give us an assessment of what you have there already, and now you add potentially Connor McDavid here.
Yeah, and the thing about that, too, especially playing, there's certain things you can teach guys. You can teach guys defensive coverage. You can teach guys positioning. Some of the stuff that those guys do with the puck, you can't teach. You can have me out there all day in practice trying to do some of that stuff, and it's not going to happen. So, that's the thing with that young talent, the guys that have that stuff that you can't teach, the stuff that you can't find. We have a lot of it, and so it's pretty fun to see what that can turn into if done right.
You had a pretty good run at the end of the season there. You were one of the teams that wasn't tanking, and you got rewarded for it by winning the lottery. Do you think playing the spoiler role kind of helped those young guys? You're a veteran of so many playoffs, but just kind of getting in those games where you're playing high intensity games. Do you think it helped them to kind of carry on?
There's a mix of it. I mean, I kind of see it from two sides. You want to be the spoiler, and you want to kind of, make it miserable for teams that are fighting for spots. But at the same time, I mean, it's easier to play when you're down. If you get down by a couple goals in games, you see teams play better because they loosen up. I think the same thing can be said, at the end of the year when you're not in that playoff race. Guys loosen up and they play, they play better. And so I think you have to learn from that. You have to know how to play in those tough games. If the same situation where you're fighting for your playoff lives, you have to be relaxed, and you have to be able to play at that level under the tough circumstances as well. So, as long as you learn from it and you learn how you operate best as a player, and you take that going into next season at the start of the year when it actually counts, then it's worth something.
How did you feel about your season overall?
Yeah, it's tough. I think you measure your seasons in wins and losses and making the playoffs or not. So obviously when you don't, it's disappointing. I mean, I'm not a super offensive guy or anything like that, so it's not never really pleased by numbers. I'm pleased by coming into the room after a good win and shut teams down. And on too many nights, we had too many goals against and coming in with losses. So it's tough to be too satisfied for sure.
Well, with the coaching change, you had Dallas there before, and then getting Todd Nelson in there. Do you think that's going to help you? Did it have that big of an effect on you guys, or are you guys just staying out of it, let management handle what they're going to do in the future?
Well, you definitely stay out of it. I mean, a player's role is to play. If you're asked a question, then you give your answer, I guess. But at the end of the day, I think coaches usually, when a team struggles, take way too much heat. And when a team's doing really well, they might get a little too much praise. It kind of falls somewhere in the middle. It does come down to what the players do, and you can have the most brilliant guy in the world drawing up the perfect system, but if it's not executed, then what's the point? So it really does fall on the players' shoulders to to take whatever messages are being given, whatever X's and O's are being drawn up, and go and do it to the best of their ability. So it's on our shoulders, no matter what the system is, what the coach is saying, it falls on us.
How about your role as the captain, especially now you got Connor McDavid coming into the fold here as well. So who helped you out when you were younger as a young player breaking into the NHL and they took you under their wing?
Well, I was lucky. I walked into a room with a lot of old guys, which is a good thing. I mean, guys that treat it as this is a business. This is our job. This is what professional hockey's all about. And it was a huge difference from my junior hockey. You step into a room and Mario's there, and Yager, Kovalev, Straka, Schlegel, guys like had a lot of respect for. And then off the ice, I remember for holidays or for certain things, going to a guy like Peter Popovic's house for New Year's Eve. Wondering if Y2K was going to wipe out over our TVs. Rob Brown was great. Guys that just kind of help you out, take you out for lunch, give you pointers along the way of just how to be a pro. And it's important to remember how young guys are when they come into the league, and you do live in a bubble. You play hockey ever since you're young, and then you go to junior and you're in that bubble for those years, and then you come in and I think you're expected to just know how to live life. And unless somebody's kind of guiding you along the way, it can be a bit of an adjustment and tough to figure out while you're trying to keep your job in the NHL and play at a high level.
Started in Pittsburgh, you see at the bottom of the screen on to Calgary, and then won a Stanley Cup with the Boston Bruins. So I got to ask you what you think of the Boston Bruins and their season, and a lot of turmoil there, unfortunately. So what did you think? As I know you're so close with a lot of people there and also the city itself.
Yeah, well, we all keep in touch. I mean, you talk to the guys, and obviously when we see each other during the year, we kind of get to reminisce and then also talk about what's going on with them. And I mean, the expectations are so high in that city for every sports team. That's just the way it is, and that's what makes the market so great. So I think on one hand, you have to remember that they got 96 points and didn't make the playoffs, which is a lot of points and a damn good season for a lot of teams. But being in a city like that where the expectations are so high, I mean, that's the way it is. And they have a group of players that have those expectations of themselves as well. So it's tough, I feel for them on one hand, but that's hockey. I mean, that's the way it is. It's a tough league. It's very unforgiving of any little slip-ups. And I mean, you miss 1 point in a shootout, and there's your season right there.
We got so much more to talk about. A lot more with Andrew Ference. We're going to take a break and return with more. And coming up, we'll get his thoughts on some of the Stanley Cup playoff matchups. Andrew Ference has played a lot of playoff hockey, 120 playoff games, 3 trips to the Stanley Cup final, the Stanley Cup in 2011 with the Boston Bruins. Look at that. That's a heavy workload there. A lot of ice time. Chatting with the captain of the Edmonton Oilers, hanging out here, Andrew Ference. Always good to see you. And you have played a lot of playoff hockey. It's really incredible. You think about the runs that you have been on. When you look back on your career, incredible amount of playoff games, huh?
It's the only memories you get, too. I don't remember any of the regular season games. I mean, those playoff games mean everything. I remember the very first time you step on the ice for a playoff game, probably better than I remember my first ever game. Just the butterflies, the feeling, the atmosphere, the style of game, just the stakes being so high. Honestly, it's the most incredible feeling that first game of playoffs.
Speaking of atmosphere, how about Calgary as one of your former teams? I know you're in Edmonton. You don't want to think too highly of Calgary now, but they've, the fans there, it's just been crazy for that team. They've just done a tremendous job.
Well, we went on a good run there, and then the Red Mile started up, and I mean, like any Canadian city, I mean, they're passionate. Like it's not just entertainment or anything. They just love their hockey, and it's just a reason for the entire city to rally and party behind it. It's just it's incredible. Every playing in Calgary was great, but also playing against Canadian teams in the playoffs. Playing against Montreal and Vancouver, and it's fun. It's a great atmosphere.
Any surprise at what they've been able to do? This Calgary team, and they turned it up in the second half of the season.
I mean, they've been so resilient. I mean, I think everybody was waiting maybe after the first couple months for something to drop off, but it just didn't. So, after that, it was a solid full season from them. So I don't think it's surprising, it shouldn't be surprising to anybody that they just continued right on into the playoffs. They've all put a full season of extremely hard work hockey under them. So continuing that, and that's playoff hockey. That's what they needed. So they're doing great.
maybe a little surprising from a defenseman point of view without Giordano. Like I was a little surprised that they were able to carry on with Russell and Weidman and these guys stepping up, but without Giordano, and they'd be able to carry it on. And any little surprise there, maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, you expect a dip, right? I mean, he's obviously your best guy back there, but I think that speaks, talking about coaches before, that speaks to the system, that speaks to the guys, buying into a certain way, playing a certain style of hockey where you're not just dependent on a single guy. That speaks a lot about how they're winning as a committee.
Also tonight we got Game 5, the Chicago Blackhawks and the Nashville Predators. What a classic Game 4 was there in Chicago. Triple overtime. We thought we'd take a look at the SAP stat of the night with the Predators' defensive minutes here. Outstanding work. Roman Josi, 45 minutes. Seth Jones, Matthias Ekholm, and Ryan Ellis. So it's really 4 defensemen that had this unbelievable workload, and in triple overtime, unfortunately, they suffered the loss and are trailing in the series. But Andrew, how tough is this? You played some triple overtime games in your career. How exhausted are you by the time one of these games is over?
There's been a couple like that, and it's insane. I mean, you just kind of shake your head at the end of it. You're just trying to get any kind of fuel into your body whatsoever during the game, and then, the next day you're just trying to hydrate and just revitalize your body. You see some guys really struggle, without a doubt. I mean, the thing about it is it's kind of neat to see those kind of big minutes, but the perfect situation, I mean, we had a couple of long games in Calgary on our run, and our perfect situation was where all 6 defensemen had fairly even minutes, and you could spread those guys out, and you can trust guys in every situation, and that helps. It helps with the longevity of the playoffs, how long they are, how tough some of the games are. I mean, your next game might be a triple overtime. You might have 2 of them, and then what? So I think it's nice to be able to lean on guys, but you can only do that so much before it catches up to you.
And speaking of that, with that series at Chicago, how about it's the year of the backup goalie. Scott Darling just playing so tremendous for the Chicago Blackhawks right now. That's a great story in itself that he's able to, carry them on, through the playoffs here.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want that job. To step into the most important position in hockey. The most, all the eyes are on you, and the games, especially in playoffs, depend on how you play. I mean, it's an incredibly difficult position, so important. I mean, the teams that I've been on have never been in that situation where you lose your goal.
You usually have the number 1, and then
that's your guy.
That's your guy.
And even in Pittsburgh, we had Johan Hedberg, who kind of came out of nowhere, but he was our goalie, going into the playoffs, and he was playing great. And but to switch it up, kind of mid-stride, it's impressive, especially impressive for that goalie. Good on him.
Yeah. How closely are you watching these days? Some guys want nothing to do with it. They don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
You watch the games?
I mean, I got a lot going on, so
yeah. That's the other thing I was going to say. You're a busy guy.
But I'll turn it on. If I'm at home, and it's convenient, I'll throw it on. But I mean, some of the games have been really entertaining. I mean, watch some of the Anaheim Winnipeg games because they're just destroying each other. So it was entertaining to just see them, taking runs at each other and playing really, really, really tough hockey, for a first-round series. So it's fun to watch.
Before we let you go, earlier in the season here on the show, we showed the story. A heartwarming story about a young fan of yours in Boston who you've been able to keep in touch with. Tell us about Maggie Rudnicki. Just give us the backstory a little bit for those who didn't see this feature. Yeah,
so I met Maggie when I was playing in Boston. She was getting a lot of work done at the hospital when I was playing there, and she lives up in Maine, and she's just a sweetheart. Just became really good friends. I mean, she was in Boston a lot, getting treatment, and then we just kept in touch. Obviously, when I was playing there, and then when I left, she sent me funny videos and FaceTimes, and she's doing great now. She's back in school and playing hockey and just doing unbelievable. But it's like a lot of friends. I got friends that. My barber, I got my friends that have the restaurant, like guys at the coffee shop. You keep in touch with people like that, and she's just another friend that I keep in touch with because she's great.
He's the mayor.
He is the mayor. Good. You know what? It's great for the NHL. Guys like Andrew.
No question about it.
Tremendous.
Thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah. Always great to see you. And best of luck at the November Project tomorrow. It's Bryant Park here, New York City. It is 6:30 in the morning, right?
Yes.
My alarm is set. I don't know. 6:30 a.m.
Like the early things. I saw that thing in Edmonton.
Oh, get it done. Get it done.
Andrew Ference, captain of the Edmonton Oilers. We got to take a break. A lot more coming up here on NHL Live.